and we had quite a spirited debate with the Department of Defence when we took the Facebook pictures of the pictures from a Facebook page of a soldier who'd been killed in Afghanistan about 2 years ago. And I noticed the same problem has arose on Media Watch last night with the media that had taken Facebook pages, pictures from the Facebook page of one of the women whose passport was stolen in Italy, in Israel and used there, and she was very upset about it. We took the attitude that if you didn't put the private button on your Facebook page, that was publication, and that was in the public domain, because anyone who was a member of Facebook, which is some millions or so in Australia, could use that. And so we use that as our standard, and I guess that's the same. If you are publishing, I think that the media will say, yes, we'll use it. If there's a Twitter thing, the media will use it, and I think they will be justified in using it.
Sorry, just a small point on that. Like, there's been some changes recently, but up until very recently, all that Facebook stuff is behind a wall. And when you enter that wall, when you log in, yes, you can see people's profiles, but you've essentially agreed to terms and conditions from Facebook that says you will not publish the materials within there, and that they're copyrighted by Facebook and the people who put the information in. Not that, well, because you're Fairfax and you've also got a profile and you can find that person, you can go ahead and put it in the paper. It's saying, well, you're using this closed environment to get this information. You can't do with it what you like. And a lot of shit, fair enough, a lot of these publishers haven't been prosecuted or anything on this stuff, but like, Facebook has every right to go back and turn around and say, that's our stuff.
Absolutely. It's their copyright, and you just can't take it. This applies very specifically to images. I see this coming up a lot with journalists and images. I see a lot of media outlets just taking images from places, and I have a very strict rule for myself. I will only use images from your site if they are Creative Commons or otherwise, royalty-free or assigned copyright for free licensing. I will not use images otherwise. As for tweets, I think that there's a very fine line you need to tread as a journalist. If you're going to write a whole story based on what people said on Twitter, well, that's beyond the line. Like, I think the Twitter community reacts pretty negatively to that. Like, whenever I've seen journalists do that. If, on the other side of the coin, if you get a celebrity person on Twitter, say, for me, by someone like the CEO of IronNet, a friend I talk to all the time in real life, but if he puts something on Twitter, like we just bought Internode, well, I'm going to write an article about that, quoting his Twitter, because he's a celebrity person, and he knows that he's put that on there for a reason, to get it out there. And I think that's the sort of line, but I really think images are a bit of a point of contention. You can't just take people's images from their sites.
What if they contributed to someone on? Is that acceptable to us? There was a recent example of an install of someone's footage was listed on YouTube, and I think it was on Channel 9, Channel 7, with no attribution back. Where should we stand on that? Is that acceptable?
I mean, the copyright law is pretty clear. I mean, if somebody owns copyright, and keep in mind, I license my copyright to a lot of people for my business models. So I've read the copyright law, I know what it states. And even fair use is a little bit dodgy in Australia. I mean, so if you're going to use a substantial part of someone's copyright and an image or a video certainly comes underneath that, you should talk to them first. Because I mean, if you're not talking to them, how do you even know that it's real to start off with? I mean, like, how do you know that it's a photo of their cat as opposed to someone else's cat? I mean, you just don't know. And that's something as a journalist. You're always going to go back to the original source and respect your sources, and that's the priority one for a journalist. And I've seen so many cases of the mainstream media just taking stuff from social networking sites, and it really just doesn't watch the people that take it from.
Even though I'm no longer in the mainstream media, let me say that there are laws within there are exclusions within the laws of copyright and that allow the media to use stuff that's been published or for fair use and that sort of thing. So as long as it's attributed to coming from Facebook, you will find that Facebook cannot do anything about it.
I think some great points were made over there. One of the things about social media is everybody thinks that anybody's going to care what you have to say, right? And the truth is, it's very hard to say something if you're not a celebrity that anyone cares about. So the bigger challenge for professionals is to put something out there that's worth being spread around. I mean, your hope would be that all the news publications would want to take your Facebook picture and tell about the great things you're doing. But frankly, in the competitive market, that's very challenging.
I'm interested in what you're saying about whether, Twitter or Facebook is a communication tool versus a publication. And one of my things that I've thought about, where does the information wars coming on this? I mean, if I'm on Twitter and I've got 10,000 followers, and I go, oh my God, I just get bored and great stuff, or I've just been out and I've inserted Scarlett's name for neighbours and she's snorting coke in the toilet. She's snorting with powder. But where does that all stand? Because I think that's a very grey area where people are giving opinions that might be, a bit of a fine line.
I'll get Adrian and answer and comment on the question.
Yeah, I've written a little bit about defamation, and the thing with defamation is opinion is never defamation, right? So, if you say something that's like, well, and I don't know how.
Yeah, Australian laws.
Okay, all right. So
defamation laws.
All right, so U.S. law, truth is absolute defense. So if you say something that happens to be true, it cannot be seen as defamation. But I don't know that straight defamation law. So maybe someone else can step in here.
Just about 2 weeks ago, a story came through. A Victorian man posted an anonymous comment on Hot Copper, which is a stock market discussion forum in Australia. The comment was about a Western Australian technology firm and its managing director, and it was defamatory. The managing director tried to get Hot Copper to identify the poster, but Hot Copper said no. He took them to court. The court said you've got to identify the person who posted. That person had given a false address when they posted, but they tracked the person down, and the result was a $30,000 finding against the person in court. And there are 2 other supposedly anonymous posters on the same site have court action pending against them. So that's the way things are changing, in that yes, you can be done for defamation for what you tweet or put on social media.
I used to be a journalist, and I think the same thing was when in doubt, leave it out, and I think it's probably a good thing a good way to approach Twitter as well.
Question for Adrian. Who's reading the tweets of lawyers? And are you helping the law firm? Are they law firms Twitter accounts, or are they personal counsel lawyers, or both? And who are you targeting to read those tweets?
All right, so the short answer to your question, who reads the tweets of lawyers, right? And the answer is nobody, right? I mean, because the law firms, when they tweet, actually, most of the journalists actually follow. If you look on some of the major firms here in Australia, if you look who their followers are, they're followed by a lot of journalists, because the journalists want to know what they're saying. But when it comes to attorneys, people care when there's an issue in the news that's relevant. And so law blogs, which aren't very big here in Australia, are a major source that journalists go to for information. And so I would say journalists, and then hopefully, CEOs of companies that do things that are related to what those lawyers are doing. I mean, that's the hope, is that the lawyers are sharing something that would be helpful to business people in relevant industries, if that answers your question.
I had some exposure to the legal community. I used to do a little bit of work for a publication called Australian Legal Business. I'd say surely the biggest audience for lawyer tweets is other lawyers. I mean, that community is really close to each other in Australia. They're really in touch with each other, and the gossip around us is massive. I mean, surely other lawyers.
Yeah, and